Today on what I've done so you don't have to. Today on what it's like. Discussion episode Friday. Finally, I've been planning this one for weeks now. It's finally ready. We're going to talk about wheels and tires. Going to try to take out two birds with one stone. Let's start with tires. There are two common types of tire: bias ply and radial. Bias ply tires have cords or piles that run 45-degree angles from the bead to bead in a diagonal crisscross pattern. Each layer of ply cord is created with a rigid structure. Bias tires are tall and slender. Advantages: they are a strong tire. Tread pattern is close together. Overrides finicky handling. Thicker sidewalls. Disadvantages: when it's wet outside, it feels like you're on rollerblades or roller skates trying to stop. They like to wander and follow lines on the roads. If you hit a pothole, in my experience, the bias plies ride better on rougher surfaces. And the other type of tire is radial tires. The ply cords run 90 degrees instead of 45 in relationship to the bead, which allows more flexibility and can conform to road surfaces. The advantages are better ride quality. In theory, wet weather traction, better tread life. Disadvantages: weaker sidewall. It's worth mentioning that Coker Tire makes a tire that bridges the gap, an American classic wheel that gives the biased look in a radial tire, but they are only available as a 13, 14, or 15 inches. This tire would not work in my situation. Let's talk wheels. Just to simplify things, we're only going to talk about split wheels and single piece wheels today. I know wire wheels are another popular option, but that's a totally different animal. Split rims. Advantages: they are lighter. They can be easily changed with a crowbar. Disadvantages: if the locking ring doesn't lock into place, results can be catastrophic. Tire pressure is what holds the wheel together. Loss of tire pressure, the rim falls apart, which could be catastrophic depending on where the wheel is. If the wheel is in the front, odds are that that's going to be a really, really bad result. If it's in the rear and it's a dually, at least you got the other wheel to catch you. Before moving on to the single piece wheels, let's talk about different types of split rims. There are tons of types. There is the single locking ring, which is a two-piece. It's considered one of the safest split rim designs, but it still carries all of the risks involved with split wheels. Double locking ring, which is three-piece. These can be extremely tricky because you need to have the ring in the front seat and the ring in the rear to seat right, or it will fail and it will be catastrophic. Bolt together, which is also another very safe option. These ones are mostly found on off-road vehicles. They bead lock for off-roading. Dayton wheels. They have that star pattern. You see them a lot on old dump trucks, old school buses, old tractor trailers. They're still being used because it's easier to change out a tire on the side of the road with a Dayton versus a single piece rim, because they are easy to take apart to get the tire on and off. Firestone center split, aka the Widowmaker. These are known for not locking right and breaking apart. They come apart in the center, much like a Dayton wheel, but they have like a locking ring that goes around, and they don't seat right, and that's why they're called the Widowmaker, because they're very notorious for falling apart while you're driving down the road. Single piece wheels, Bud style wheels. Advantages: single construction, so if the tire loses air pressure, the rim stays in a single piece. Tires are cheaper than bias ply tires. For example, if I wanted to put bias ply tires on my 52 Chevy truck, they were $300 each, plus inner tube, plus foundation, plus installation. I put brand new 19.5s on my truck. They were $150 each, which is half price. Disadvantages: they are heavy. It weighs about 150 pounds with the tire and the rim. 19x5 size is hard to find for Chevy, and if you do find them, they can be really expensive. One negative that nobody talks about with the radial tires: if you go to a 19.5 size, you are now dealing with a commercial tire size. You can't go to a regular tire shop and get it changed. And I guess that's why the split wheels were as big of a deal as they were. Anybody could change it with the right tools, like a crowbar. A crowbar, you could change your wheels. These wheels, because they're bigger, you need to take it to a commercial truck place to have it done. So that's a negative right off the bat. Another thing they don't tell you is these are extremely heavy. The split rims don't weigh that much. This, it felt like I was picking up 150 pounds to put it in the bed back here. So here's a good look at the rim design that I have. Notice it has the locking ring. So these are split wheels, but these are only two-piece split wheels. So these aren't the widow wheels. They still have all of the things that you need to watch out for that come with split wheels. Going to put these on, finally got these. It took me all year to find a full set of these wheels. These are Bud wheels. These are 19.5s, and it's a single piece wheel. Split wheel, single piece. Split wheel, single piece. That means if the tire was to fail as you're going down the road, the biggest issue with split wheels is everything is all fine and dandy as long as it's together. If you hit a sidewall or the tire blows out while you're driving down the road, this whole rim assembly comes apart and it just blows into two pieces, three pieces if you count the tire. This doesn't have that problem. If it happens on the front, it's catastrophic. I mean, you got to think you're pretty much on a ride wherever it decides to take you. If you have a dually, if it happens in the back, at least you got the other wheel to balance it out. I mean, it's still going to be terrifying. So that's the reason why I'm doing it. But so here's the issue that we're going to have. Look at how narrow these tires are. Come on over here so you can see just how narrow those are. I measured, they're 5.5 inches wide. Even though they say 7 by 18, they taper in. These are like 8 inches wide. So I'm going to lose that turning radius. We're gonna see, we're gonna take it out on the road and see how sharp it turns now versus how sharp it's gonna turn with these. But I'm interested to see. Look at how deep this tread is too. These tires should last a little while, and these were pretty inexpensive tires. I only paid like 150 bucks for these, so that's a really good deal, because these tires are like $300 plus tube plus installation. So I know what you're thinking. Hey Jay, why don't you just get smaller tires? Well, here's the reason why you can't do that with this. See the tie rod ends? You can't get any smaller tire size than 18 inches. Otherwise, the tie rod ends won't fit inside the wheel and it won't turn. We tried mounting 16s to this and it didn't work because the tie rod ends were in the tire. Bias ply tires, they're not the greatest tire to drive on. Some people swear by them, but if you drive a lot in the rain, and I don't drive this truck in the snow, but if you drive a lot in the rain, it's like driving with roller skates on. And people don't understand that, and they'll pull right out in front of you and they don't give you any room to stop. So the internet told me that going radials, I will be able to drive faster. I'll be able to stop better. I'll get better gas mileage. The ride will be better. We'll see how much of that is true. I did it so you don't have to. So I haven't drove this truck in a couple days. It's always a good idea to keep a rag where it would be handy for you to have a rag. Always check the oil and coolant. It's always a good idea to do that. It's not the most glamorous engine in the world, but it's reliable. I know it looks like it's been at the bottom of a lake. And it says we're okay, but I'm going to add a little bit just to be safe. And you're supposed to do this on a level surface. I'm kind of sort of not level. It's pretty bad when Dollar General oil has zinc in it, but all the stuff that's available on Walmart shelves doesn't. And it costs way more, and you're getting less. It's absolutely insane. All right, that should be sufficient. We're not driving it very far. So, yeah, there's enough in there for that. I don't want to fill it all the way to the top because I don't have an overflow tube on here, and it'll just stink as it goes down the road because it likes to come out of that. Alright, so this is the main voyage with the tires on the front, and I can already tell you it's easier to turn this truck. It almost feels like it has power steering. It's got the steering wheels on the front. I think I need to balance the ones in the back. It's kind of rough riding from the back. But I am really shocked that it's actually easier to drive. I don't know if it stops any better yet. It definitely feels out of balance in the rear. It's just kind of shaking all over the place. Like, look in the rear view mirror. I'm not going that fast. I'm going about 50, but that's faster than I could go with the bias on the front. There's still a vibration coming from the rear end that I'm not entirely sure what it is. That's what sucks about doing something like this, is you expect to take off the rims, put on different rims, and not have any problems. But generally that's not what happens. You generally have a lot of troubleshooting solutions. From the top of third into fourth. But yeah, anyway, there's a vibration coming from the back, and I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if a wheel is misaligned. I got the wheels balanced, and it rode good for a minute, and the faster you go, it's like there's a sweet spot. Like right now I'm in the sweet spot. But the faster you go, it seems like right around 50, 60 miles an hour, it vibrates the worst. But once you get past that, if you have enough guts to take it to 70, 80 miles an hour, it kind of sort of goes away a little bit. But it's still there. I don't know if it's like an axle bearing, or if it's a misaligned wheel. I don't know if I put a load on this, if it will go away. It's weird because like it wasn't there with the bias ply split rim situation, but it's there now. So after driving around with it for a little bit, I really love the way that this steers now. You can steer this with one finger. It feels like it has power steering. So turning it, it's actually turned better now with these radials on it than it ever has. Which is insane to me because everybody's like, oh, you're going to put radials on it, it's going to be really hard to turn. I got the steer wheels, of course, which I would highly recommend doing if you ever do this conversion, because it's like effortless. This turns better than anything that I have. Unfortunately, I was right. I did lose some turning radius, which we're going to find out how bad it is right now. I love the transmission when it makes noises like that. Some people call it singing, some people call it whining. That's one of my favorite things about this truck. And it's something small and stupid, but I love it. this is a paved road. The ride isn't any better. On gravel, it's actually worse. If you hit a bump in this thing, the whole truck jumps, which it didn't do with the bias tires. The great thing is the suspension's all in this seat. It's definitely a rough riding truck though. So you can't go 90 miles an hour down a dirt road like you used to be able to. But you shouldn't be going 90 miles an hour down a dirt road, I guess. But just look at this effortless turning. One finger. I couldn't do that before. So you can't turn it around in an intersection anymore, but you just have to take more turns. There are positives and negatives to this setup. What I'm finding out is these tires, they hold on to the rocks longer than the bias plies did, because the tread pattern is wider on these tires than it was on the bias ply tires. On to the pros and cons. So, was it worth it? No, not really. I don't think that it's worth it, and here's why. You should just run the bias tires on split rims if the split rims aren't the dangerous split rims. The truck turns easier, but I lost turning radius by a lot. Like I could turn this truck around on a dime. I can no longer do that. On rough roads, which if you've never been to Western Pennsylvania, let me tell you the road situation. The roads here suck. They are a grade above gravel/dirt roads, and we have gravel/dirt roads. The way that they fix the roads around here, they fix them the cheapest way possible, is tar and chip. Could you imagine driving this on a tar and chip road? It would be really, really horrendous. It is super horrendous now. Let's talk wet weather traction. The wet weather traction, it is better at handling and braking, but can't drive as fast overall. Top speed is 70 miles an hour. I could go 80 with the bias plies on there without breaking a sweat, but there's a vibration coming from the rear end that wasn't there when the bias plies were on there. And I'm not entirely certain what that vibration could be. And everybody thinks it's just peaches and cream. You just take off a set of wheels and put another set of wheels on, and you just wipe your hands and dust off everything, and everything will work fine. And it's turning out not to be the case. It feels like I solve one problem, and then 3 more problems arise. And I'm at the point now that I just feel like I'm chasing problems. I already found the shocks are shot and need to be replaced, and that may help with the ride aspect. The stance. So because bias ply tires are taller and skinnier, they give it a totally different, like a taller look. The radials make this truck look smushed, if you see what I mean. If you're looking at these pictures side by side and wondering what happened to the bulkhead, a pothole happened and the whole thing snapped off. I wish that I could give you better feedback. Honestly, the best saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. In short, do I recommend doing this? If you have a truck and you're looking to do this, is it worth it? If you live in a state where they actually take care of the roads and don't suck and are straight as an arrow, and they don't tar and chip them, at the very least free of potholes, then maybe. But just know, when you come to a gravel/dirt road, it rides rough, it rides really hard, and you can't really go any faster than 10 miles per hour. And that is a bit of a stretch. This was just a huge disappointment in a long line of disappointments that happened to me this week. Anyway, let's move on to something positive. Name that tune. First person to give both the name of the band and song title. First person to do both correctly will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below, or check out our Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel. Or if you don't have Facebook and would like to reach me, shoot me an email. All of that will be linked in the description below. And until next time, toodaloo! There's a strange new light in my eyes. Somehow something's changed.